Player Will.
Welcome back, Visions fans. Ready Player Will here. It's the Rikku Quick Hit Thoughts review. She just came out today, and so I wanted to get this out at least for people that were kind of on the fence of pulling, maybe wanted some confidence in the fact that they already did pull her, just to get some preliminary thoughts and some insight. I will be doing a full character review very shortly for her, though, but getting anything, she is a brand new DPS unit added to the game to the Earth element, and she does equip daggers, and as part of that dagger and Ninja Blade combined class for job-based vision card eligibility, she is a physical slash damage oriented unit. They've given her the unique main job of Thief for 10-2, and Monk and Axe Knight as the sub-job. She is a 100 cost unit. My personal faith recommendation is 70, if not higher, quite frankly. It's really just for the Berserk capability on her limit break. That can go higher or lower, though. I think we have cases both for 50 faith or for 97 faith as well, but I think that's a good starting spot. When we get into the general thoughts overall, let's be real, she is currently the best evade unit in the game. Not only does she have the highest innate evasion rate current day, but she does have some bulk to her that other evade units don't typically get. She's got a 40% damage reduction for one hit, a 50% physical barrier. She's got a sequential ability that will grant protect and 25% AoE resistance, and she does have null sure hit to help versus those guaranteed hits as well. It will activate when her health falls below a certain threshold, and so the idea is that okay, even if she's in the battlefield and she gets guaranteed hit by someone, it's likely not going to kill her because of the amount of bulk that she has here. And once it does bring her back below that threshold, she'll at least now have the nullify sure hit so they can't do it again. Now, offensively, she does have a 15% unit in peril on hit. She can dispel Protect and Haste. She can also remove Protect 2.0, and in game you'll see that phrased as reduce physical damage by a certain percent, but she's also got a general Dispel on her level 120 ability that is part of that Dispel, Protect, and Haste. It is after the damage, though, so it's not pre-damage, but still, it's good there for teammate follow-up, and she does have a 30% Earth in peril on her sub-job with Berserk on a select 2 on her limit break. And honestly, I think the real only downside at the moment is that the team building is currently a bit constrained. And so I think that limits her overall upside, but as a individual unit, she absolutely checks all the boxes. Now getting to the overall team building for me, you have both the Earth or like mono earth parties or the Ninja Blade or dagger combination here of these units on the top. And admittedly, I don't think all of these units are super compelling or super competitive. It's really just here for anyone that wants to jump in and start using her day one and see what you might have available to use with her. In terms of rainbow team building, this is where dagger currently has some of the holes in the team building. Not only is it just the class individually, where there's just straight up not a lot of great dagger units or Ninja Blade units, but when it comes to the rainbow team building, even though they have a lot of vision cards, not all of them are main slot vision cards that are conducive to making any kind of rainbow or job-based vision card party. Of the different classes, I think Spear is likely one of the best. They do have, 4 really great main slot vision cards. One of them is the Future Venera card. That is really where Riku's going to see things take off, is once Venera, who's also here in the top under the dagger category, once you get Venera in that vision card, Riku's going to hit a whole nother ceiling, a whole different speed. Everything about her is going to improve pretty drastically. But for now, Spear is one of the more synergistic classes. Katana technically is too, and even the Mace job. It's just that the Mace units, again, really not all that compelling in the modern era of the game. But one of the things you will notice if you're looking at this is that these 3 classes do share a bunch of job-based vision cards, where the Venera VC is here between 2 of the classes, the Zidane VC is here between 2 of the classes, the Trove of Knowledge vision card is here on all 3 classes, so there is some overall innate overlap between all 3 of these groups, or 4 of these groups, if you're including the dagger. It's always just been a question of how good is it. And I wanted to pause to show this table real quickly because I think this will better illustrate where I think Dagger still has some strengths, but overall still has some weaknesses. And so what you're looking at here, this is all in this first column, all of the Dagger vision cards in the game. And then I have all the other weapon types here in these columns. And if they share a job, that's where you'll see this X. So if you were reading this like book, A Dance That's Out of This World, Dagger shares this vision card in common with the book. It also shares in common with the gloves. What I want to get at here, and I'll collapse some of these just to highlight this, You look at a class like Staff Black Mage, okay, they have an agility card and technically a unit resistance card in between them, but not a lot of other overlap besides that. You look at a grouping here like Sword Red Mage, they also have 5 things that overlap, but none of them are agility, AoE, or unit res, or any kind of wide resistance. You look at a group like the Gloves, and even though this new Rikku vision card does have an agility main slot vision card in common with Gloves, the other 5 have nothing for the main slot in terms of team building synergy. And that's kind of the recurring theme with even things like Sword Warrior and Bow. It's not that there's a lack of vision cards that they have, it's more just that the ones they do have aren't conducive to really healthy team building. And so on that note, we're kind of limited. In my top 3 favorite teams, you're kind of seeing this. I think my top favorite team is unfortunately just a straight old mono Earth team. JP has been using this with decent success. It is exceptionally powerful, and even versus a Shreka, this team can likely power through that. Obviously, mono Wind versus mono Earth, this stands no chance. But there's so much damage and utility and different ways this top of team can attack you. Sodily bringing in the blind status effect and Rikku bringing in the protect and AoE resistance. There's some sequential healing abilities that Sodily can give to the team. Ash and King Mont obviously is very self-sustained and still brings a similar limit break to Sodily with all the follow-up damage. That very, very compelling top team that can hit some pseudo-evade levels when you are pumping in all the evasion that the Earth Vision cards naturally have as well. That I do think this overall thumbs up, even though it's probably not the typical team that we're used to seeing. The second one here is really where it comes together when Venera is released. That as another dagger unit and as her vision card comes out, it's really just a super, super, super high evade team. The highest evasion team that we'll likely see in the history of the game. And Lucille is just there to support them and give them some AP and keep them healed. The third one, again, this is where I'm really reaching here because I don't think there's a strong third favorite team. I'm probably just going Ramada for that spear overlap, in addition to what Lightning has between Venera and Ramada, but that's obviously less about Rikku and more about Venera in that case. But I do think Ramada is a very well-rounded third unit that can bring some extra things to the team. This is such a weird honorable mention. I've actually seen on offense in JP, some people using Thancred as this third unit instead of Ramada. Admittedly, I would never think to use that team. I don't think it's a solid team. I think what we're seeing right now, if you're tracking any of those teams, is the fact that in the missile meta that's going on in JP, with how good Thancred is versus the missile team, that they're just kind of hucking him in there and letting him absorb a lot of damage and letting the evade units do their work. I don't believe in that team, but it's an honorable mention, and some of you might have seen it pop up in maybe some JP videos that are floating around. But unfortunately, I really think Rikku is constrained to these top 2 teams. Obviously, there are other mono Earth iterations if you wanted to go with a unit like Ketone or UR Zazan, but I just don't think those are going to win versus the majority of what you're seeing. Because while Rikku is an excellent new gen evade unit, Ketone and Zazan still have their own individual problems. But when it comes to my overall expectations for Guild Wars, I'm going 5. I think this could be a potentially excellent unit. Just needs a little bit more built for it. For Arena, I'm going a 3 for good. The downside of Arena is simply that you can see your enemy ahead of time. So if you see someone using Rikku, you just gear for it. Alternatively, you can also abuse that. If you see people not gearing for accuracy, you can just bring a Rikku and abuse that. So I think at the top end of Arena, that kind of gets figured out. But for general purposes, it's probably okay. So I think it's a good. For PvE scores, I do think she's a great. She does have the multi-hits, the Chain Imperil. She's got the Earth Imperil there too. It's not my absolute favorite unit, and Earth is already really strong for PvE scores, but I think she's got enough there to make a case for it. For cost limited, I'm going with a 5, and it's literally just because of Balo. Balo, with his cost and being an Earth unit, has proven on so many occasions that Earth is always a threat to deal with in the cost limited stuff, and Rikku certainly is a benefactor of that as well. And I am giving her TMR a 5 for amazing. I absolutely love this TMR. It's an accessory, number 1, but it comes with 3 agility, 15 evasion points just from a pure stat stick perspective of what it does for its stats. But the ability effect, it's a 40% attack buff, it's 50% reaction block rate, and it's a 25% chance to inflict blind on units upon hit. This is similar to the Vega TMR, where if you just landed on someone, you can blind them. So I'm not saying this is amazing for Rikku in particular, but as a TMR overall, the fact that now you can at will blind anyone you want. I think it's really powerful. I think in the short term, people are starting to gear a little bit more for blind, so the efficacy of that may not be as consistent. But overall, I do really love this TMR for like the broad scheme of the game. For an overall grade of a 5, I think she's an amazing unit. My key takeaways, I think she's an excellent unit whose only handcuff at the moment is that team building factor. She is a staple dagger unit going forward, though, and is a key part of that team. And overall, I do think she's a fun unit that'll add another dimension to team building for the foreseeable future, where you're going to have to start considering different ailment resistances and different kinds of accuracy levels and different kinds of units that maybe you hadn't considered before just because of the hit rate potential. But that's all my thoughts for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck pulling for her if you are, and I'll talk to you all soon.